If you're thinking of buying a watch, this list of watches to avoid will mean you never have the regrets I have. Let's get into it! Yes, welcome to the Mad Watch Collector Show. Today I'm going to give you a fantastic list of watches to avoid. Trust me, I've made these mistakes myself. I've been seriously buying watches for around 10 years now. And if I could go back in time and say to my younger self, stop! I would have saved a lot of money. Now this list is not in any order. However, the most important one is at the end, so stick around for that. So sit back, relax, and let me tell you some watches to avoid, maybe some brands to avoid, get the wife's perspective at the end, and let's have a bit of fun. Are you watches to avoid ready? Let's go! First on the list is the Settler's watch. Now I see this time after time on Instagram, chatting to my fellow watch nerds. Now there are watches, quite expensive, but they are reachable. We set ourselves a goal to get that watch this year, only to be swayed by other cheaper watches that take our fancy, thus losing our savings for that one grail watch we wanted, and we fall in this perpetual cycle on never being able to afford the dream watch and having a lot of cheaper watches we just don't wear anymore. Trust me, if you want something, there are ways to get it. It takes patience. It takes strength.
It takes stickability.
When you've worked that hard and have been that patient, when that dream watch is finally attainable, it feels so good.
NWC.
Yes?
Casio have just released 2 new watches.
Be strong. Don't buy watches that aren't you. I've bought many watches in the past I've liked the look of and have put them in my watch box and they never get worn. Watches were made to be worn, you son of a... Alright, I know. This has probably been because the watch does not fit your lifestyle. So before buying a watch, you need to do this. Take a good long look at yourself. Look at how you dress. Look at your hobbies. What do you do for a living? Are you someone that would regularly wear a Cartier tank? Or will you be more inclined to wear your Seiko Mini Turtle? In actual fact, let's imagine we are on a top trump card. To be fair, it's one of my lifetime ambitions. So imagine you are on a top trump card, okay? Nice picture, isn't it? I've done the hard bit for you. Grade yourself out of 10 in all these categories. So from the top trump card, punching in the data on my phone, the next watch I'm going to buy is an Apple Watch. Definitely not. But for me, it's a sports watch, a diver. Also one that is dressy enough for all those 3 formal occasions I do in the year, like a wedding, a christening. The Black Bay 58 is the perfect example of the perfect watch for me. But anyway, don't buy a watch you're not gonna wear. You don't have to buy a watch just because your friends want you to. I get it. There's not a lot of us watch enthusiasts in the world. So when we start chatting to a watch enthusiast,
we cling to them like white on rice.
But remember, we're not trying to impress that person or anyone else in our little forums. You're the one that's going to be wearing the watch. And if you don't like it, don't buy it. There are many watches in the market that a lot of people have. Now, in one case, yes, it's probably a good, solid watch. But on the other hand, how many people have bought this watch to tick a box? This imaginary watch box. If you think it's good, then it's good. This leads me to another important category. Don't buy a watch unless you've handled it first. The amount of times I've spoken to people that have bought the watch, never handled it, never had it on their wrist before, only to find it's not the watch they thought it was going to be. It may not sit on the wrist well. It may feel clunky. The colours in person are not the same colours as what you see on this screen. Now, 10 years ago when I started collecting, it was quite hard to get hold of, say, a Zin 104 or a Doxa 300T. Nowadays, with the likes of Francis and Gay Jewelers, there are many authorised dealers you can take a trip to and to test out these bad boys first. Get it on your wrist first before you buy it.
Could you just click that like button, please? It really helps the channel. Thank you.
Hype watches.
Hype! Hype!
Just because a brand or an authorised dealer ramps up the hype on a new release does not mean it's going to be a good watch for you. For me, Case in point, the Tudor Ranger. This watch was hyped up to the max. Tudor strapline is born to dare. But the only daring I can see with this release was that Tudor were going to dare to see if there was anyone out there mad enough to spend well over £2,000 on this watch. Well over £2,000. It is a luxury watch, but the only thing luxury is the awesome movement from my Black Bay 58, and they've upgraded the clasp. The bracelet was sharp, the case size was too big, and there had been no added technologies, subtle nuances, or refinement to make me think that this was a luxury watch. Yes, it's harking back to the old days, but Tudor, in the old days, your Ranger wasn't very expensive, was it? The older I get, the more cynical I get, and the Ranger to me is purely a watch made for someone that's been on the waiting list for a Rolex Explorer for 2 years and has given up hope and just settles for this one. If you're thinking about buying your first luxury watch, don't buy the Ranger. Just my opinion. Do not buy fake watches. Recently, I've been bombarded on Instagram by companies advertising cloned Rolexes and Audemars Piguets, telling me that you can't see a difference, powered with an ETA clone inside, and it just got me thinking, this is illegal, right? Right. Now I get it. Ever since I saw the Rolex Submariner on the wrist of Roger Moore in Live and Let Die, I've wanted a Rolex Submariner. Nowadays, they're either way too expensive, or even if you have the money, the waiting list is longer than your arm.
And another arm.
So to scratch that itch, why not buy a fake one? No one's gonna know. Why are you buying the watch? Is it to impress someone? The only person you are going to be fooling is yourself. I have a feeling all these companies work in the same factory, and if we all stopped buying fake watches, well, they'd stop making them. Who knows what nefarious things go on behind the scenes? Who's making them? Who's selling them? Steer clear of fake watches. And avoid clomages. Clomages are homage watches that are taking the piss. Watches that are completely cloned only to have the logo changed on them, using inferior parts and selling them off to you. Yeah, I'm talking about you, L'Oreal, with your chronometer certified labeling. If you want the feeling of a Rolex Submariner and you want to be proud of your watch, spend just over £100 on an Orient Ray 2. Yes, it has influences of the Submariner, but there are enough changes and enough personality and characteristics to make this an Orient watch. Be proud of a true homage and not a clomage. Now, the worst watch you can buy, whether it's for yourself or others, is a watch from a fashion brand. Your Calvin Klein, your Michael Kors, your Tom Fords. You know, any brands that do aftershaves. If you're buying a watch from DKNY, who, let's face it, know nothing about watches, what do you think the quality of products, materials, assembling, engines that power the watch, what do you think they're going to be like? These fashion brands make the watches for, say, £2 and then sell them for 100 times profit. All because you wanted a watch with Ralph Lauren on it. With any brand of watch, do your research on them, but don't buy a fashion watch. Obviously, I could not do this watches to avoid without the help of a few characters chiming in. Excuse me, that was a T-bone steak I had this morning. Hi, I'm Kurt Santana, and the best watches to avoid are ones that don't have a fidgetable bezel. If you've got a dive watch with an inferior bezel, then you are no friend of mine. Give it a look, give it a grip, and give it a twist, because you never know when the time comes and you want a cheeky little twist before breakfast and lunch. Super! Bye-bye, bezel lovers. You will never see true beauty in a watch without a display caseback. Its mechanics and insides should be shown to all, and any watches without a display caseback are pure imitations. Irony. Very excited today because any minute now my designer from Switzerland is arriving and we're going to discuss new products.
Darling,
Yes, dear?
the Rolex book you wanted for Christmas has arrived.
Here it is, my wife's thoughts on watches to avoid. Here we go. Anything blingy. Nothing blingy at all. No diamonds. Nothing silver and nothing gold. Don't put those two together. Also hate magnifying glasses on watches. All these things make for an old man's watch. Fortunately, I don't have too many blingy watches. If you've got to the end, well done! Today's show is sponsored by Fuzzy Balls for Men, when you just need that fuzzy ball smell. No, not really. This was a Christmas present from one of my clients. I know where that's gonna go. In the comments below, give me your watches to avoid so we can steer us through these murky seas with a con man round every corner and a very cheap watch that's price is too good to be true. If you'd love to get more involved with the Mad Watch Collector channel, just click here and join. And if I've got you for a few minutes longer, why don't you binge watch some more? Oh, this is brilliant. Facial expressions, 10 out of 10. Watch content, 10 out of 10. Go on, click it. Click it. Go on, click it. Click it.